What are you like personally most passionate about? Like what drives you to keep pushing in this direction when really a lot of it is, to your point, like not other people are thinking this way, and if they are, it's at a snail pace. So how does this come about for you?
Yeah, the reason that it pushes me forward and makes me like super pumped is that we can now see that it is absolutely possible to automate and make the lives better. Like I always call it enriching the lives of a front desk team. We can now see it, that it's actually possible, and really making that process for a practice. You can see how powerful that becomes, and turning that process into this center more so instead of just I come there to get treatment. I'm excited to have my healthcare process run through that practice, which I think is what changes that. Like, so we're going to come at this eventually one of these days, and we might even turn these practices into kind of, it's weird to say, a bank. We can now give them a banking as a platform piece where they can actually hold their own accounts and they can make interest off of these accounts. And it's wild.
Interesting.
What we have coming in the next 2 years.
And I love, so basically you're making the transaction, what you're passionate about, and tell me if I'm quoting you correctly, is that making the transaction so smooth that you don't know the transaction is actually happening, basically, right? Like no one says I love going through XYZ experience or the checkout stand, but that we know when it's painful and we know we don't think about it when it's not.
Exactly.
So that's your end goal, right?
Exactly. Like imagine how flawless the Amazon experience truly is, right? You are excited to go on there. I don't know about you guys, but every so often I'll just get like a feeling of like, I got to buy some shit. And I'll just go on Amazon and I'll buy, and I'll just start looking for stuff to buy. I don't even have a point, right? I just go on there.
What's Jeff Bezos' mission? It's to make the most customer centric business ever, right? Isn't that his mission? And so that means
he always says, I pay attention to customers first and the rest just falls into place.
Yeah, everything, even technology. He doesn't start with the technology. He starts with how should I deliver this? And he's been pushing for same day delivery and all those kind of things forever, which it used to be impossible. But he just kept pushing and pushing and pushing, and he's been able to deliver on a lot of it because he started with that mindset. And really, this I really love your story about how you started in Indiana, right? So Indiana is not known for creating all the tech startups in the world.
We're known for corn, right? That's about it. Us in Iowa, we're really reckoning in the corn industry. Yeah.
Corn for cows, right? To feed all the cows, right? That's
hell yeah. There's some really good sweet corn too. We rock it into sweet corn.
Yeah. So you went from Indiana, and I love this story too, SoCal to New York, and there's Apple and all these things in there. Can you tell me that story? Like, I love that story.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, so started in Indiana. It's funny, my mom's a nurse and my dad's a golf pro. And that's where we started everything off. And it's funny, so me getting into healthcare makes a little bit of sense on the nursing side of things, but I always wanted to be a golf pro. I thought that would be the coolest thing ever. And went to Ball State, played D1 golf there. It was a blast, was pre-med the whole time, and came out of there really not, wanting to do pre-med the whole time, but couldn't really hit that physics section of the MCAT. So took some time, really realigned. And this is where the golf side comes in. I always noticed that the dentists would always make their tee times, and the MDs would always show up late in their scrubs, hit a drive, go down to the locker room, change, and go back out. I'm like, okay, the dentists seem to be playing golf a lot more on Wednesdays and half days on Fridays. This looks like it's going to be my profession here.
How old were you at this time?
This was like about like I was like 20, 21.
That's pretty observant
right
for a 20-year-old. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. And I was like, this is my profession there. So I kind of regrouped. Was like, okay, I really love dentistry. I think this is really cool. It seems like patients see them a lot more as well and have a much better relationship, even though we're the ones that kind of give that jab in the mouth. They seem to be pretty good. I also remember, so I worked for an orthodontist, a pediatric dentist and an orthodontist. I'm like, wow, the ortho people are really happy to be there. Kids are just screaming their face off. And, maybe I can somehow get that in the future. So it's funny is in the meantime, trying to figure out how to get into dental school, because I had to take a couple extra classes. I actually ended up down at my girlfriend at the time now ended up working for Disney down in Orlando, Florida. So I was like, I'll chill down in Orlando there, and really figured out that while I'm down there, I need a job. Right. And so I ended up working at Apple, got a job at Apple. Didn't know it was that difficult. I just walked in there. I was like, I'm going to get a job at Apple. Let's do it. So started off at a lowly Apple retail store. And while I was there, realized that they had a huge customer problem, meaning that people would walk in and their number one complaint was, I cannot find anybody to help me, which made no sense whatsoever because I had 40 people working on the front floor and nobody could help you. No sense. So what I did is, being the pre-med, I'm like, I know how to triage people. So I set up this triage line at the front door, right? Triage people, strategically routed them around. And all of a sudden, everybody was happier. And then I figured out that people were just staying in there and playing with the toys on the floor. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, what if we kind of kick people out? And they're like, wait, Ryan, no. We want them to stay in here. I'm like, guys, when somebody drops $600 on a phone, right? They don't have another 600 burning a hole in their pants to go buy a Mac. Right. We need to push them out and then they'll come back later. That's just how it works. They get them home to play with their own device. And so what we did is we started to hold the goodie bag when we sell it to them, and we'd walk towards the front door and I'd let it go at the front door, and out the front door they'd go. And so we started to be very mindful about workflows. And it's funny because all of you are probably thinking like, damn, that's still what happens to this day. Yep. And it is because I got to end up, Apple had this really cool thought process. And it's what we still put to play at Simplify today, that if you have a great idea, you can write it to the top, which is so cool because, think about it. They were still a Fortune 50 company back in 2000, 2008, because that was pre-iPhone, right? Yep. When the iPhone hit in 2007, we had no clue that was going to happen. We were just selling iPod touches and or we were selling iPod videos, right? That was the coolest thing we had in the Nanos. So, when that happened, they tell you that, you're like, okay, whatever, that's bull. There's no way that happens. Next thing I know, they moved me out to Cupertino, California, because it worked so well in that Florida region. And I'm working directly for a guy named Ron Johnson, who's the SVP of Apple Retail. And I'm like, oh my God, and that all happened. I'm telling you, Gary, that happened literally in.
And then who was his report? Who did Ron report to?
Yeah, so he reported to a guy you might know. His name's Tim Cook, and then Tim Cook to a guy named Steve Jobs. So it was a fun time to be there, and we got to deploy that system throughout about 300 plus retail stores worldwide, which you still experience obviously now with an iPad and some iPhones. And we had to use limo signs back in the day with markers and walkie-talkies. We used to use checkout devices that actually were pocket PCs. So I came up with this process where the other thing we did is we made everybody a checkout line, right? So this is another thing. You'll start to see like how this kind of like mirrors what we're doing with Simplify for all of these different practices. But, we figured out that I would, when I first started, we would take a person after selling them everything and we would move them to a checkout line, and they would stand there, and people get nervous. I mean, think about it. I've experienced with my wife 100 times, right? Where she will spend, an hour trying on clothes. They all look fantastic on her, but she picks 3 things, and then she gets to the checkout line, and then there's like 5 people in front of us. And then she'll do this thing where like you can count down like clockwork, right? 30 seconds go by, and she does this thing where he goes, no. And then they all get set down and she walks out, and I'm just like, what just happened?
Lost opportunity.
Like those all look fantastic. You loved them 5 minutes ago, and now they look like crap. That didn't happen. It was just like, oh, I'll buy it online. I'll leave. And then she never buys it online, right? And what's funny is everybody that's watching is shaking their head like, I've done that too. Yep. Like, that's exactly right. If she would have checked out 30 seconds faster, just 30 seconds faster, she would love all those clothes, right? And it's the same thing at Apple. It's the same thing in healthcare, everywhere. If you can keep it there. So what we did at Apple is we started making, me the checkout line. So we were using pocket PCs at the time because Apple, they didn't have an app store yet. And it was funny. Our excuse was, sorry, it's Windows, if it would ever screw up. And it was like this like play on whatever it was. So it was the nerdy side of things. But we would do that, and we would mount receipt printers underneath desks. And we would just walkie-talkie to the back to bring our stuff forward. So we started to modify that, deploy that through all the stores. And obviously you still experience now today. Yep. In fact, you yourself can be a checkout now. I never even dreamed of that. That's really cool. And then the other piece is that we found out that if we were too fast, your cart size dropped. So what I meant by that was We found out when we were slower in the back, this is kind of funny. This will really give you a mind warp. When we were slower in the back, you bought more stuff. So what we did is we put these platforms with timers on them. So we would set like a device on it, and you would look at it and go, they could bring it out there in 10 seconds, 30 seconds, right? They could have it to you right away. You'd buy your stuff and leave. But I started to delay my people. I said, wait, give it a 3-minute window. So what you would do is you'd be talking, developing rapport, more rapport, just like it is in the practice, like with the doctors running behind. By the time they get there, you're best friends.
So it's similar to like the impulse aisle when you're at the grocery store, right? That you have to stand there and wait, and you end up buying the mints and the Starbucks drink for $5 and all these little things that you normally would never buy, but you're sitting there and you're standing and waiting for them, right?
Exactly. Your cart size goes up on average of $5 to $6 in those lines. And everybody's like, what? The grocery store could solve this right away and make a single queue with multiple endpoints, just like Best Buy, which it's an industrial engineer's nightmare is grocery store checkouts, right? It's awful. They'd be like, I can fix this tomorrow. Do you think the grocery store wants to fix that problem? That's what everybody needs to think about. They're not full of idiots. Right. There's really smart people that work there. In fact, they're probably figuring out ways to slow it down more. They probably try to figure out a threshold where you don't lose your mind. And where you can still check out and buy that magazine.
Have you seen the Amazon Go stores? Have you seen
those?
Oh,
yeah, exactly.
Or that's the flip end of it is where it's like, oh, you don't even pay. Like it doesn't feel like you're paying anything. So then you buy more because you just literally walk in, you scan your phone, and then they monitor you as you move in. If you put an item in, it adds it, but you don't see it. And then you just walk out and it debits your account, but you don't feel it. There's that process.
It's the best thing in the world. It's interesting. And that's, we look at those processes too. And how can we remove the sting? Right? If you can remove the sting altogether, that's the only thing better than increasing wait times, right? With practices, it's funny. Some stuff that plays in the grocery stores and in the checkout lines just don't play in the practices. Wait times are the devil in practices because I'm taking time off work. I don't want to be in there first place. You're hurting me. There's all kinds of different things that are play there, unless it's like a plastics practice where you're like, I'm going to look really pretty by the end of this stuff, which is awesome. So, all of those things start to come into play, which obviously we'll chat about here in a second. But I think that, we started to look at that and go, okay, what if I could increase that time? So what we do is, where is that stuff in the back? You know what? While we're waiting, have you looked at our cases? And we walk you right to the case section and you're like, no, I haven't. Oh, man, I drop my phone all the time. Show phone, show favorite case, right? And then next thing you know, you're walking out with a $49 case, a screen protector, and some extra headphones. You're like, what just happened to me? It's very purposeful, all these workflows, when you start to think about it. But yeah, that was the fun part about that at Apple. And it was about that time that a lot of my previous pre-med, pre-dent friends were all getting into school. And look, I was falling in love with Apple. Like I was drinking that Kool-Aid. It was delicious. And if anything, I learned a lot from there just in the onboarding. I mean, hell, if it tells you anything, the way we onboard at Apple, this is so cool. And I think practices should do this too. We do it at Simplifeye. There's a thing called the warm welcome. Okay. The first day I ever had at Apple, they walk you into training. It's in a completely separate area within this is just the mall, right? It wasn't like the Cupertino, which is way better, by the way, but this is in the mall. We walk into a separate training room. And as we walk in, you'd have thought I won the lottery because they have the whole store plastered against the wall, all the people, and they are roaring. Rip roaring, round of applause. And you're just like, and it kind of shocks you at first, but there's a big smile goes across your face and you immediately feel like you're part of a family. That's your first moment at Apple. After that, they show you all of their badass commercials, the building, here's to the dreamers, here's to the crazy ones, right? And you're just like, this is me now. Let's go. And, they show you the old, I'm a Mac, I'm a PC, and you're just building. That's the beginning. The first 30 minutes is that of getting pumped. And then Steve Jobs announcing the iPhone and all this other stuff. And basically, then after that training happens, imagine a desk that's full of candy, just all the candy on earth right in front of you, and then Legos. Okay. So it's Legos and candy. Because they know that you're going to tune out at some point in time. So they're going to zone you in on candy, give you all that stuff, but then they're also going to let you fidget. So like all the ADD people like me, right? I'm just sitting there just I'm just doing this while I'm paying attention. It's genius because they know we can't get up and walk around. Like Gary,
Yep.
like you have the walking desk. I do the same thing. I'm flipping out sitting down right now. But at the same time, I just let my hands let all the energy out. So it's the same thing. They train you on doing this, but the whole process is so purposeful and ideological that it is interesting. But like I was saying, I drank that apple Kool-Aid along that way.
I love that. And I love that story. It's such an amazing story. So thanks for sharing that. And something that you hit on there is that warm welcome and the way they introduce their team. And something that is hitting the dental industry right now is that they're calling it, and it's not just the dental, it's everywhere, is the turnover tsunami. What are your thoughts around that's happening, and how is that impacting you, and how's it impacting your business, and what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's funny. I've even heard it called the Great Resignation.
Yes.
It's like the Great Depression, the Great Recession, the Great Resignation, right? They've coined the phrase, and everybody that was waiting to quit that job are now quitting it because they've got security. And if anything, in the dental industry and the retail healthcare industry now, we notoriously have thrown people at problems, which has worked in the past.
Yep.
Because margins have been pretty good. We've had pretty, regulated wage rates. I mean, if you think about it, what we've paid assistants, hygienists, front desk staff members, even associates in the past, how much of that has changed in the last 15 years?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it's changed much at all. And now all of a sudden overnight, the supply is gone. Or even better yet, maybe the supply is the exact same, but now because people are coming back, and almost every single practice we talk to, they've been the busiest they've ever been in their entire life right now. Obviously, we ask them, what are you busy with? And most of them will say, oh, well, cleanings, which isn't that cool anymore. But at the same time, that's what they're doing. So now they're needing, or even better yet, maybe they fired an associate during, the pandemic, and now they're bursting at the seams and they need to bring on another associate, and they're looking around going, well, that associate went and got a job somewhere else.
Yep.
So now you're seeing this weird thing happen where they're bidding. And I think that's really interesting. So these hygienists who used to be paid $45 an hour, I saw 70 the other day. And I'm just like, that's drastic,
that's big,
right?
jump.
You're talking about people starting to make almost dental level salaries overnight, and industries that have changes like this overnight can't adapt. And in fact, there's only one way to adapt. And this is why there's a huge amount of tailwind seen on automation, right? We see this now, and this happened, Gary, within the last, I think, 3 months, 4 months.
You're seeing it from everything from, I love where you're going with this. You see this from everything from fast food all the way up to name the job, right?
Yeah. You're the only place I think that's getting hit worse than the retail healthcare area. Right. And by the way, I say retail healthcare in a very loving way. What I mean is we are the people who actually know what a patient means to us, how much money they make us, which is a huge pat on the back compared to like the family physician MDs in the world, which don't care whether they see one patient or 500 patients a day. They make the same amount. It means something to us. So that's why I say retail healthcare. But you're absolutely right. The only place that's getting hit worse is restaurants. I'm sure everybody out there has walked around and seen, oh, sorry, we're not open right now. We literally can't stay open past 7 because we don't have people. We just close before 5 o'clock, so we don't see that problem as much.
Yeah.
But it's the exact same thing. And we're only seeing one answer.
Yep.
Right? If we can't throw people at the problem, if margins are skyrocketing to where I can't, even if I could find the people, I can't throw 4 people at the problem. I can only throw 2. Mm-hmm. What can I do? We have to automate things.
Yeah.
We literally have to do it. We have to look at the different pieces of our practice for the first time ever and go, what of this can I outsource to people who, by the way, are better at it anyway? But at the same time, outsource it. Can I talk with these people? Can I use technology? Or hell, maybe even better yet, maybe somebody out there has a marketing platform that can do all of this for me with people, but they're built for scale, whereas the regular family practice, 1 to even 500 locations isn't built for that. So that's what we really think.
Yeah. So how do you tie into that? Like specifically, what are you? So I'm a dentist. I own several practices. The salaries are skyrocketing. I can't find people, and so what do you guys do that helps with that? How do you help solve that? And I've seen some of this in action, but I really want people to hear it directly from you.
Yeah. So we come at it from two different angles, right? If you think about the front desk, there's really three main functions that they have, right? It's getting new patients in the front door and keeping them coming back. So that's one, right? So patient administration. The second piece is working with revenue cycle management, meaning taking payments up front, getting payment plans going, sending out invoices when insurance comes in short. Then the third one is really dealing with insurance, right? The verification of this, the ugly side, the verification of benefits, the clearing houses, the getting the cash back. And I like the first two. I don't want anything to do with that third one, right? It's one of those things where the insurance agent world has made very clear they don't want to make that better. It's kind of like those grocery checkout lines. They know what's going on.
It's like
they can fix it.
It's like that scene in the Incredibles movie where he's sitting at his desk and the little old lady calls in and goes, my house burnt down or my car's, whatever it was. And he's scripted to make it difficult. And then he starts whispering into the phone and he goes,
right,
go to this form, do this. He tells her how to solve it. And then his boss comes in and goes, are you making this too simple, right? Are you making it too easy to submit claims? It's the same thing, right?
It's so real. And I guarantee that exists. We just need more Mr. Incredibles in the world. But yeah, this is a thing that is not going to be solved soon. There's a lot of really smart people who are working on it. They're obviously going to hit some walls. So as soon as they're there, we'll engulf that into that platform. But right now we look at it from first getting patients in the front door. Now, right now, the only way to get a patient in the front door is what? Traditionally they call you. And the way I compare this, Gary, is imagine, we have to look at traditional manners of which we do things, of phone calls. And it was funny. I was talking to somebody the other day about the Allbirds, right? A lot of people have Allbirds shoes. I'm sure everybody out there has probably seen Allbirds shoes, but the place they've seen them is where? On Instagram. And, most people are like, well, how'd you buy them? Well, I clicked on one link. It came up, showed me the beautiful pair of Allbirds I want. I clicked, I chose my size. I clicked, and maybe even then I had Apple Pay. I double clicked, it looked at my face, and it shipped them to me, right? 4 clicks from me discovering Allbirds to buying Allbirds. That's badass, right? That's amazing what they're able to do. Now I go, imagine for just a second, the Allbirds, this is what the ad looked like. Hey, these are the shoes of your dreams. The only way to get them is to give us a phone call at this really tiny phone number. By the way, we're only available from 9 to 5 on Monday through Friday. Don't you dare call during the lunch hour because we actually take that lunch hour off. And by the way, we take a half day on Wednesday and a half day on Friday. How do you think Allbirds would be doing right now? Right. And that's what we work with nowadays. Yep. We don't have the ability to give instantaneous gratification for what a patient actually wants, which is to make a damn appointment. Well, that's all they want.
So at the simple level, it's the consumerism of dentistry, right? And I don't mean that in a way to condescend to dentistry, but it's giving the customer what they want, giving the client what they want. If they want to have the ability to get a hold of you, then you should give them the ability to get a hold of you, right?
Exactly. People used to pay for super high touch, right? The Henry Scheins of the world, right? Oh, well, you get a person to help you through this transaction. Or, at our practice, we will walk you from step A to step Z with a human being. It's going to be amazing. Now I will pay extra money to not have to talk to a single human being, right? Yeah. That's how you get my business. I don't want to talk to anybody. In fact, I don't want to get on the phone because I don't want to have a stupid conversation where I'm filling up words for no reason. Give me that quick move in, move out, because I got to get back to work here in just a second, right? That's everybody else, because I'm probably not supposed to be on the phone in the first place.
So this ties into something that I know that we talked about before, was there's stories that we tell ourselves, right? And there's practitioners, and you can speak to this directly, tell ourselves stories. And one of the stories that I hear it all the time is, well, how can somebody else talk to my patients? So how do you guys, how do you deal with those stories, and how do you deal with that?
Yeah. So, when we get those patients into the practice, the first step we have is we give you a 24/7 live chat. Okay. This is our segue into the world of digital. And I equivalent it to, there's probably some crazy guy running up and down the street back in the day saying, I got this crazy thing. It's called the telephone. Doc, you got to turn it on. There's probably some doctor out there going, no. My patients walk in by referral only. It's amazing. And then they turn on the telephone. They're like, oh my God, it works. Right. Live chat is like that. Now, it's not so much live chat in the sense of, remember the problem we just talked about. I don't have a human being. So imagine going up to your front desk tomorrow and saying, hey, I got this new thing. It's called live chat. And there's a lot of companies out there that do this where you can man it yourself. So your front desk is already overworked, already understaffed. Now you go, now all you got to do is just answer this completely brand new, easier to use for the patient method of communicating with us. You have to respond within 7 seconds every time, and you have to do it 24/7.
Yeah.
That person might just pack a suitcase in front of you and walk out the door, right? So what we do at Simplifeye is we obviously answer it on your behalf, but we have to be good at that, right? We have to be able to represent your brand like you were talking about, Gary, right? So we have to be able to say, hey, how do I represent your brand perfectly? We have a standard 33 question survey where you fill it out and you tell us all about your practice, and allows us to know what insurances you take, how you want us to talk about pricing, why you're cool as a doctor, your hours, all that good stuff. But the other stuff in between is the difficult stuff. So it's more so, do you want to call it a reservation instead of an appointment? Do you want to talk about your Invisalign special for that week? How do I start to shift and move people?
Yeah, how you deal with insurance,
yeah, exactly.
all those things. And I think the big thing that, again, in the stories that we tell ourselves is there's no way you guys can figure it out. But the part that most people don't realize is chat is totally different than phone, right? Because if we're on a call right now. If you ask me a question and I take 7 seconds to respond to you, that conversation isn't going to last very long. If we're on chat, 7 seconds is nothing, right? Like the bubble is already moving. And I love your guy. I know we can't show it on here, but I love your guys' back end, how you can actually see what the patient is typing as they're getting ready. So that way I can go look up the response and I can get back to them. And there's not that awkward delay. The other thing is, I'm selling you now, like this is the cool part for me is like I can text message right now. I could text message with 3 or 4 people, and those 3 or 4 people wouldn't know I'm text messaging with 3 or 4 people. No. I can't be on more than one call at a time. It's humanly impossible. I can only do that call, and that's it. So it really allows you to be able to scale. And the other part that I think people might be missing, because we're dealing from a marketing and from a new patient standpoint, there's also the existing patients that it lowers that chat lowers your administrative time and cost, because someone might just come in and go, hey, I never got my bill. And you guys deal with that too, right? And it really eliminates that process. And the front desk still has to get back to them, or maybe the office has to respond still, but they do it when they have free time rather than everybody calling on their lunch break at the exact same time.
Yeah, it's asynchronous, right? It allows for asynchronous movements within the practice. Phone calls are so interrupted.
Yeah.
If you think about it, like imagine I have 2 people in the front desk. Like right now, I'm sure that all of us that are on this chat right now have gotten some sort of phone call or a text. And if I had phone calls are some of those things where I have to respond right now. Oh, it's gone. Yeah. Maybe they'll leave a voicemail, but I'm not listening to those anyways. So it's just one of those things where, especially at a practice, if somebody calls you, you're watching tens of thousands of dollars out the door. I miss a phone call, next person down the list, right? Oh, there's the next one on Google results. I'm going there. You're screwed. You're done. Whereas if it's a live chat or it's anything else, one, we're answering, right? We have 200 people chatting 24/7 throughout the US. We're just not going to miss it. We don't get sick. We don't have egos. That's that piece. Oh yeah, we speak 8 different languages. So, all these other things where, like, can your front desk speak 8 different languages? If they can, you're underpaying them. So all of those different things start to stack up, and you go, okay, maybe, just maybe, if they can represent my brand perfectly, right? That's the kicker. I'll be able to relay some of that stuff over to them. And then after that, after live chat, it's funny. Live chat is perfect for people. And this is why I always say it's a great segue, because you catch everything.
Yeah.
Like our conversion rate is 56% when we have a chat with you, which, for all the marketing people out there, they're like, holy crap, Batman. Like that's a lot. It's
and
about 5x.
And you're reducing bandwidth. You're reducing the bandwidth problem that you have at the front desk too. And that's a big part of it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Huge. Right. Now, what's interesting is there's another side to this too. There's the people that don't need questions answered. There's the people that are like, hey, I know you're the doc for me. You hit my insurance. I think that all doctors are equal. Right. And by the way, that's another thing that a lot of the people have to think about is, everybody forgets very quickly, we're told this story in dental school that if you become the best clinician on earth, patients are magically going to know that. And they're going to show up in your chair because, just like Dr. Doolittle is the only person alive able to speak to animals, you're the tooth whisperer.
Yeah.
So I'm going to show up into your chair.
Yeah.
And I've heard that for some odd reason, you can put some voodoo magic on my teeth and they're just fixed. And the word's going to get out because, of course, you're going to be in the Wall Street Journal about this. No.
Yeah.
Right.
We deal with that all the time. We say, okay, give me 3 things that makes you unique. And they're always the same 3 things, and it doesn't make you unique at all. And then when we go, okay, well, why would I choose you over your competition? That list keeps getting harder and harder for people to tie in. So access is huge.
Everything, right? Nobody's ever left a dental office and walked up to their friends and said, "You wouldn't believe the dovetail on this resin." All right, look at this thing. And then the person, "Oh, I know what that is. Oh, that is beautiful. I can't even tell it's there." Right? Nobody's saying that. They're going to be saying, "Oh, I got to watch Netflix. I got a paraffin wax. They got a massage in the chair. It heated up. Have my music on my head. I got the VR. Like, oh, and by the way, it didn't hurt. And I didn't have to mess with insurance. It's dealt with too." That's what they're telling their friends about. Yep. That the guy or gal was nice to them. Right? Yeah. That's it. They could have done the worst dentistry on earth, but because they had a great result, no lawsuit, right? Great interaction. And they're sending their friends there to have the same terrible dentistry done. Yep. So that's literally how things work on that side. Now, what's great about this, Gary, that you and I both know is we work with unbelievable practitioners. We work with people who have great results. The problem that they run into is what we were just talking about, that there's also people out there that are just going to flood the marketing. And it's more often than not, they're the ones that figure it out first because they're sure as heck not getting recommendations off of the good feels that they get, that they create. Yep. So they find people first. And if we can start to side with those people, even more so, than the large organizations. And I love me some DSOs out there. And I think a lot of people with 1 to 3 locations will look at somebody like us and go, Ryan, Gary, what the hell can I do? I've got the Aspens of the world that just have hundreds of millions of dollars, to spend on this. And, they have the infrastructure, and you and I can look at them and go, guys, gals, I can give you their infrastructure overnight. Yeah. Gary can make it so $5,000 can go farther than their $300 million in the little area of Indianapolis, Indiana, or Kokomo, Indiana, or Tulsa, Oklahoma. Like, that's literally what the power is that these 1 to 3 locations have. They don't need to focus on Anchorage, Alaska at the exact same time as Miami Beach, where Aspen does. We can actually look at this and go, look, let's focus on these individual pieces and really knock it out of the park for you. And it's so much more powerful.
Yeah, I love that. Now, I'm going to ask you something, and this is a very interesting topic, and there's a lot of mixed feelings about this. And I'm going to hit it. I'm going to frame it from a marketing perspective, but then I want your clinician perspective on it, and then we can kind of dive into it. So, SmileDirectClub, probably hands down, maybe Invisalign's a close second, is the best, has done the best job in marketing in dentistry. Yeah. Like in Aspen's in that conversation, right? There's a couple others, but SmileDirectClub just has gone out and created a market where people weren't even thinking about them, right? They're going out and creating opportunities. And so from a marketing perspective, I'm just like, that's really cool. That's awesome that they're doing that. Yeah. They're obviously spending a lot of money. To your point, they have to just blanket everywhere. So it's not something that you can just go do if you're a single practice. What is your thought on their approach to consumerism, and what does that mean to you? And then how do you look at that, and how do you break that down from the marketing side and then the clinician side? Yeah,
I think it's funny, so I'm an orthodontist. So obviously all the people out there are like, I wonder what he thinks. You know what I think, right? On the clinician side of things. Done. Now, what's interesting, I think we as clinicians, start to acknowledge this as for what it is. It's genius. Right? We have to acknowledge that. We have to look at it. And then we also have to think, okay, if they're on the consumer, the direct consumer side, and how they're working with these individual people, what of these pieces did we miss? Because if we already had all this cool stuff, we were providing the most unbelievable experience on earth, this would be nothing new. None of everybody would be like, I've been doing that for like 50 years. What the hell?
They wouldn't be able to come and take over as quickly as they did. 100%.
Exactly. Right. So we were missing something, and not just something. We were missing a lot of things in a gigantic way. So they were able to look at it. It's not just going like, oh, well, I don't need a doctor for this. They do need a doctor for this, right? They still have to have that, right? So they looked at it and go, what do people actually care about? And in my opinion, with the SmileDirectClubs, the Candids of the world, and by the way, they're getting better. So for all those people that go, oh, well, SmileDirectClub IPO'd and it tanked and yeah, screw those guys. No. They got all the cash and they got really smart people. They're going to figure out what they screwed up. The big thing they screwed up with was what? Partnering with doctors, right? They made us all hate them. So guess what they did? They found doctors out there that they can partner with now, turned them into centers, and they're going to get better every single day. So this is the time where we kind of have this lag period where we need to focus on what we can do. And really, I think that they did two things very powerful, really three things very powerfully. One, we were talking about just a second ago, right? Marketing. They have a $300 million a year marketing spend where they're going to do television marketing. They're going to put you on the side of buses. They're going to be on bus stops. You're going to have your friends referring you in, like all these different pieces.
Which sometimes people hear 300 million and they go, that's a huge budget. Nationally, it's a drop in the bucket. Yeah.
Tiny. I bet you if you look at Coca-Cola's, it's a bit more, right? So that's what's really interesting about all of this is that they've got that piece. So they figured out that marketing works. So that's what I want people to take away from that. Marketing works in dentistry, right? It just does. We're very lucky that we have huge margins, right? If we're selling, tiny little trinkets where we have 1%, 2% margins out there,
rocks and
not
stuff.
as cool.
Yeah.
That's where that's looking at. Whereas if we are selling something, I don't know, like dental treatment, and we've got huge margins, we can probably fidget with that. And by the way, huge dollar amounts. It's not this huge margins and we're selling $2 items. We're selling $5,000 treatments with big margins, meaning that means we can put a lot more towards marketing. So if anybody takes anything away from this, it works.
And to your point, I wanted to hit this. You can do a lot if you have a single practice and you're in the local community because it's dentists and you're not selling nationally like them or a Coca-Cola. I just looked up their yearly marketing spend averages about $4 billion a year. That's worldwide, but it's still $4 billion, right?
I mean, because they have to concentrate on the world. I'm selling in Israel and I'm selling in Miami, right? It might kind of be the same place, but at the same time, like that's what we're focusing on, which is really cool. So I think like that's what the first piece is. They did marketing well. So we need to start as practitioners looking at what we're doing with marketing and getting smart about it and working with people who actually understand it. Because it's interesting. At Simplifeye, we have a lot of different providers that provide website companies and then generate the traffic for those websites. And I can tell you right now, just like dentistry, there's good ones and there's bad ones. I hate to break it to you. And the thing that sucks, and the good news is you're listening to this podcast and you're talking to somebody that can actually do it right. So you've already found that stop. But at the same time, there's a bunch of good people out there and there's a bunch of really terrible people that are really good at selling. Just remember that.
Most marketing
and if you're hearing
most marketing companies are built on the back of their sales department.
Yeah, absolutely. And the harder your sale is, like the more firm that is, I'd honestly probably tell you maybe the more weary you should probably be about it. If your friend is like, dude, you wouldn't believe the unbelievable results I just got with this, you should probably talk to that person because it's rare when that actually happens. And really cool. And by the way, you will have tangible results. That's the other thing with your marketing company. If you're talking with somebody out there that cannot show you the results, like you need to ask that question upon the sale. You need to say, hey, will you be able to show me what my dollars to cents meant at the back end?
So
if they say yes, keep talking.
So that's what we tell everybody. You need to be able to measure cost per lead, how much, and a lead is an actual person, not somebody clicking on something. Got to define that. Cost per lead, cost per acquisition. How much did it cost to drive somebody through your door? Most people can't answer that question. Most practices can't figure that out. And that's crucial. You have to know that number. If you don't know how much it is to drive somebody in the door, you don't know, you can't scale. Like you can, but you're guessing, right? And then number 3 is lifetime value or ROI. You need to be able to actually look at, and the reason I say lifetime value, it depends on how you look at it, not at averages though. That's what a lot of people do is they go, oh, my average lifetime value is this. So then I got 10 people. So it's this, but marketing always performs differently. Real. Sometimes they buy way more. Sometimes they buy way less. And so you need to be able to look at what's my same day, what's my 30-day, what's my 90-day ROI on those numbers. So I'm 100% with you. But so for SmileDirectClub, Marketing. That was number one.
Yeah.
What was the other two things that really separated them?
Yeah. And by the way, Gary, what you're talking about, you're absolutely right, is with the lifetime value. We have this thing that we strap on there with our technology where we can literally track a person from the click that you guys generate all the way through them ringing the cash register. So for the first time ever, you're able to tie those through together. Like, I don't know about you, but when I'm marketing, I wish I had an attribution engine that worked like that. I don't even have that because I have to get to the lead point and hope to God that my sales team pulls a drop-down menu right in the Salesforce menu, right? Yep. That's how I do things.
Yep.
Whereas now what we can do is combining like an SMC and a Simplify, you're literally able to tie those two together and actually see what the money generates, which is cool. Yeah. It. So the second piece of SmileDirectClub, in my opinion, is giving people attention and allowing them to make appointments and have appointments exactly when they want it. Okay. So if you're sitting on the couch, I don't know if you've ever noticed, the number of SmileDirectClub advertisements increase as the night goes on. And they're really, really high at like 2 a.m. Right? Because there's a bunch of people sitting on their couch feeling bad about themselves. I know that sounds terrible, but that's
right?
What it is.
If you remember that you used to watch TV, and as you're watching prime time, it was like the Coca-Colas and those kind of things. But then as you move in later into the night, it's like buy this set of knives or a mattress or pots or pans, right? Yeah.
Diet pills and girls gone wild back in the day. Like that's literally all you had. And I think that, it depends on the channel you're watching, Comedy Central, whatever it might be. So I think that, that's where, as you go later, you see that stuff, but somebody can look at that and go, I want that right now. And then they can go to SmileDirectClub or Candid or whoever it might be out there. We're picking on SmileDirectClub a bunch, but like at the same time, it's genius on what they're doing. What if I could search for a doctor, I don't know, and schedule an appointment for the next day?
Yep.
Right. That's what I want. That's where direct scheduling comes in. We were talking about live chat. What if somebody just flat out knows, I want to see you as a doctor? What if I'm looking at the Delta Dental results or the Guardian Dental, healthcare website or Aetna, and I see that, I don't know, you qualify for me as a healthcare provider, and I can just click schedule now. It shows me your schedule, and I can choose a time, and I'm in. That's what SmileDirectClub has created, right? They've been able to literally do that for them.
And most dentistry, most of dental right now is you go to their website and it's just a form that you fill out, and it's a coin flip if you're going to get a call back. It's probably like 50%. You know what I mean? Like most people, some of us don't even check the emails for those forms. So marketing, 24/7 access where they feel like they're connected. And what's number 3?
Yeah, number 3, and honestly, this is the biggest one out of all of them. They made the damn thing affordable. Okay. So this is what's really interesting is when you walk, we're kind of taught this, honestly. When I went through my ortho program, they would tell us things like, don't you dare do a free trial or a free consultation. That devalues you. Like that devalues you so much. And I understand what they're saying. Right. And if there were just hundreds of thousands of people lined up around the door for you, which is what these programs have, because I don't know, it's basically free. Right. It's like if you're paying $3,000 for braces, right, there's people lined down around the corner if you take Medicaid. So that's how they picture this stuff. And they're teaching that. Whereas, guys and gals, the honest truth is nobody gives a crap about your practice right now unless you're actually making it affordable or doing something to give them an extra enticement to get in. A free consultation works. Okay, I promise you that.
It's bar of entry. That's all it is. From a marketing perspective of any industry, it's removing the bar of entry. It's a free, the first day at the gym membership is free. You know what I mean? It's
I dare you to walk out.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what we do at Simplify too. We do 30. It's funny. When we first started, we were selling over the phone to every single doctor out there. And we would sit there and work our butts off to convince somebody who we've never talked to basically start buying a Lexus over the phone. Right? Which isn't the easiest thing, believe it or not. But at the same time, all of a sudden, it's funny, we realized this during COVID. We said, okay, I can quote you stats all day long for my provider, but maybe, just maybe, if I say 30-day trial, maybe I can shove your own data into your face. And I can say, look at the unbelievable amount that we've created for you. And you just go, of course I'm going to continue. I hand you $1 and you hand me back 10. Why wouldn't I say that? So say yes to that. So that's what we've done. You have to think about that as a practice too. So not just obviously on the free consultation side, which we were talking about, which meshes perfectly with making an appointment. But second, what's interesting that SmileDirectClub did and all these other direct consumer practices, even sleep apnea, doesn't matter whatever it might be that they're moving into, whitening is the other one. They made it affordable and they didn't reduce their prices. So what's interesting is they use modern day tools to know who you were as a patient to see if I should trust you with a payment plan. Okay. So they didn't say, oh, your whole case is just $99. Of course you'll afford that. No. They said, instead of doing this over 18 months, which is the amount of time that the treatment takes, and we've got it locked in our head that, oh, because I have to see the person in person and swipe a credit card every time, after 18 months, they're gone. I got to bill them all up front right here and get it done. No, right? Tokenize a credit card, tokenize and vault their ACH information or debit card. Yep. And guess what? With modern day technology, you can update those even if they cancel them. Yep. You ever notice that your Netflix subscription never goes away, even if somebody steals your credit card?
Yep.
Right? It's modern technology. So now we can provide, and this is another thing that Simplifeye does, we tokenize credit cards. We work with, help the office work with the patient on what makes financial sense to them. Because patients will walk up to a practice and go, oh, I can't afford it. They didn't say it was too expensive. They said, I can't afford it. Mm-hmm. And if we had listened, which we didn't,
they just want you to figure it out for them, right?
Please.
Yeah.
They didn't walk in there. It's not like a Gucci purse where I want to walk in there like, this is a nice to have. This is, I got some janky teeth. I need to fix them. Right.
Well,
so
we need to
that's
put that
what
on
happened.
a shirt. We're going to put that on a shirt right there. I got some janky teeth. Please fix it. I love that.
I need to fix it. So like, that's where, they're there. They need it. It's a healthcare thing. It's not a nice to have. So if we can just come to that point, the demand is higher than it ever has held. Maybe they're in pain. We're talking about clear aligners. Let's talk about that. They just need a root canal.
Yeah.
And it's $800, way cheaper than clear aligners. And I just got to figure out how to pay for this right now. You could almost quote anything that makes somewhat of a sense, and I might not be able to afford it, and I'll throw that credit card down. It just has to get to that threshold.
Yeah.
So we need to figure that out and be able to have a conversation about this, but also be smart. So what Simplifeye did is we wanted to give you superpowers like SmileDirectClub. We run soft credit checks on every single patient, right? That. You can know who they are before you say yes. You break it up into payments that they can actually afford. We can put backup payment methodologies on file, automatically bill them every single month. If they want to pay it down early, they can even pay that down early. And by the way, I didn't mention the front desk involved in any of this.
Yeah.
Right? Because once you set it up, they don't even have to administer it anymore. Right? There's actual companies.
That's the direction everything's going to go, is just how do we automate? How do we make it simple? You still need a team. You still need the doctors. You still need some people there, but you don't need as many people. You don't need as much energy going to solving these problems, because you guys and companies like yours are going out there and solving this across the board and really from a bigger picture, right? Like we started this conversation. We're not talking about, I learned this in my dad was a dentist. We're talking about Apple. We're talking about processes in other industries and then carrying them over. And I think that's what is really driving behind what you guys are doing and the impact that you guys are making. So, and just full disclosure, we use Simplifeye on hundreds of our websites that we have. I don't know the exact number, but we do that, and we don't put regular forms on our websites because we know that the offices don't respond to them. We've measured it. And so the chat, the direct scheduling, all these things, it's just going to become normal, just like the phone, to Dr. Ryan's point. Real quick question, Dr. Ryan. So what is your favorite marketing campaign of all time?
Favorite marketing campaign of all time? I would probably say, I really like, just a marketing campaign. Like it doesn't have to be dental, right?
But it's probably not going to be dental.
Oh,
right?
Shoot. This is easy. Okay. Oh yeah, this is easy. Mac versus PC. I've never seen anything like that in my entire life.
So for the young people in here that might not understand what that means, right? So there might be somebody watching this that's younger. Walk us through that. How did that impact you? How old were you?
So it's interesting. Shoot, that was in like 2000. That was 2001 or 2002, right around there when that hit, right when I was graduating high school, that hit. And at that time, I think anybody will tell you that the coolest ad out there was, dude, you're getting the Dell. And I remember graduating high school and thinking like, I'm getting the Dell, right? Everybody remembers that, dude, you're getting the Dell. It's like this guy would tell you a Dell computer was crushing it, right? It is when you graduate high school, you got this Dell, and it was this big, ugly block of black plastic. but it was the coolest thing ever. And I remember it weighed, I don't know, 15 pounds. I put my backpack. I have a bad back right now. I don't think it's from COVID. It's definitely from that Dell. But basically, like we would have this thing and you would get it. And all of a sudden, the Mac came out and it was beautiful. It was colorful. Remember that one that looked like a tinsel light lamp? It was like a little dome, little thing, and it did a little dance in the commercial. Like it was really cool. But even then, they still kind of struggled to get adoption because you couldn't use your software that you wanted with it. They started to create this user interface and the system with it. And all of a sudden, the white Mac hit. Remember that thing?
Yep.
It was beautiful. It was white plastic. They said, okay, Dell's black plastic. I'm going full gloss white. This thing's sexy as all get out. Right. And then they came out with the black glossy one with the glowing light on it. It was so cool. And even then they still struggled. But then they did this commercial where a guy that was in this like hoodie and jeans that looked like the people that they wanted to sell to, he walked out and goes, "Hey, nice to meet you. I'm a Mac." His name was Mac, right? It was Justin, I forget his name, but it was like his best work he ever did. And then they walked this guy out in a nerdy suit with a tie, spectacles, those nerdy,
it makes me think of Microsoft
guy. You can ever imagine, like Excel birthed this man, right? That's who they walked out there, and he goes, "And I'm a PC," and that's all they had to say. And instantly, I looked at that, and I think the world looked at it and goes, "Well, I don't want to be like the guy on the left. Yeah, I want to be like the guy on the right who's a Mac." And then it just evolved from there, and they would do things that were cool. Like the Mac would be clumsy, and he would always get viruses. He'd be like sick and coughing, and he'd have viruses, right? The Mac would be like, I don't get viruses. I don't know what you're talking about. And they just walked down and they personified everything about this. And I think that, if we can start to look at things like that and say, oh, well, this is my practice. This is why I'm cool, or this is why we're able to beat our competition. Personifying things is so profound, and people are able to really get along with it. And the rest is history. The PC world is still recovering. They probably never will from they are the business side and Macs are the cool side. And then Mac just slowly goes, cool, now I'm going to take the business side too. They just slowly moved in there. Right. And just took the rest of it, which is really interesting.
That's awesome. It ties into everything that we're talking about here and comes full circle. Dr. Ryan, so where can people find you? Where can people find Simplified? How do they connect with you? How do they get in front of you and get that 30-day free trial?
Yeah. So if you go to simplifeye.com, SIMPLIFEYE, I think I've got it on here too. There we go. So we spell it, of course, in a super difficult manner because MasterCard owns the actual Simplifeye.com. If anybody would like to figure out how to buy that, it'd be fantastic. And I'll get rid of that EYE on the end. But at the same time, if you go to Simplifeye.com, you can learn about all of our posts, our Amplify live chat, direct scheduling. We have really cool stuff about our new proactive scheduling where we look in there and we can see what you've planned and we can optimize sending out text and email invitations to those people who have really nice and expensive plan treatment to take that overall amount you're producing every single appointment up. And then you can see our payment processing where we're going to literally optimize all of that for your front desk. And, our whole goal obviously out there is to really enrich that front desk life. It's funny. I was watching a commercial the other day with Steve Jobs. It's from 1981. And they were asking him, "Oh, Steve, are you, tell me about these computers, these personal computers. Are they going to like take our jobs?" And he goes, and he sat back and he thought about it. He goes, "No, absolutely not." He goes, "If anything, these machines and this software are going to enrich our lives. Because if you think of the things that a computer has to do, you didn't want to do them anyway. Right? You didn't want to have to be scheduling appointments. You didn't want to have to be talking to patients for that 20-minute long thing just to get a few pieces of data from them. You want to be engaging and enriching lives of patients and talking with them every single day right there and then." He goes, "So what's interesting is you're going to end up seeing job descriptions change. And those job descriptions are going to look a lot sexier and a lot more fun than what they used to look like because you're going to get to concentrate on the stuff that you actually wanted to do." So outsourcing and automating, it doesn't take away jobs. It makes whoever's job that was a lot more fun and it allows them to concentrate on what they're good at. So that's what we're trying to do.
It's what they're passionate about. That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for being on with us today. This was great stuff. And I'm sure this is going to be a lot of value to a lot of people. So thank you so much. I really appreciate you.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. Thanks so much for watching today. If you'd like to learn more about SMC or the guests that you listen to, please visit us at smcnational.com.